Hey you guys, it's Chastity and welcome back to my channel. So last week I took a poll on Instagram and you guys voted for the video on comparison, which is also posted here from earlier this week. And I also promised to do a video on loneliness, so here it is. So when we think about the meaning of loneliness, we often hear negative implements in the word, not frequented by human beings, a lonely wood, having the feelings of isolation, solitary, retirement. They're all negative things, and it's magnifying how these things can hold a case for a potential signs of depression. And there's going to be a time where there's beauty in being alone to regroup and relax and retreat. But it's a big difference between those huge feelings of loneliness. And as a part of the human experience, we have or will at some point experience loneliness. And depending on how you feel or how you handle loneliness, its level of severity can definitely manifest itself in different circumstances. And obviously, with the events of the pandemic causing people to have to physically distance themselves, it's become an easy way for people to get stuck in their loneliness. It's something as simple as wanting some company, or deeper, where you felt neglect or abandonment from your past. And surprise, surprise, even introverts, they are not immune to the feelings of loneliness. So everyone on this earth needs company. Although our circumstances at times may be different, no one is immune to experiencing those times of loneliness. There was a article done by Psychology Today underneath loneliness, health, and well-being that states, in addition to its association with depressive symptoms and other forms of mental health illnesses, loneliness is a risk factor for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and arthritis, among other diseases. Lonely people are also twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease, as research suggests. So while experiencing those feelings of loneliness technically can't kill you, it does usher in some of those symptoms of those health risks that can be gone underlooked if we are not careful about managing how we feel and getting the help that we really need. And experiencing regular seasons of loneliness, those are normal feelings that's going to come up every now and then. But by nature, having a connection to others is what helps us to survive. And when you think about it, it's a bit scary because today's society often encourages us to stand alone and have a strong walk of independence, to do this for yourself and not to be a burden or bother someone else when you're having a hard time. And this narrative is so heavily pushed to many people, is that we don't feel it important. We don't feel the urgency to reach out when we're really just hurting inside and we need help. It encourages us to be silent and remain in isolation when instead we need to reach out and get the help that we need. And while having that healthy, independent life is very important for our personal growth, we must not neglect that urge to say something when we're feeling a certain way. And the most difficult part about loneliness is having that repeated thought in your mind that no one understands you. And we've all experienced those moments where we sat by ourselves surrounded by countless of people, only to believe that no one around us understands how we feel on the inside. It's like living in a foreign country where you're dealing with that obstacle of a language barrier. There's people around, you're not physically alone, but you think, yet again, no one understands how you feel. And that's a lie, because when we sit with ourselves long enough, we create a space of isolation, and that cloud of loneliness can plague our thoughts. We are so self-conscious about how everyone feels about us, that we make sure we go out of our way to not project our own feelings onto other people. So we hold back and we don't speak of our feelings at all. And we become confused about who to decide who we should be open to and reach out to. But let me reassure you that there's nothing to be ashamed of for feeling this way or being honest and vulnerable about your issues. And your feelings are valid. And looking back on some of the things I've experienced myself and being so overly conscious about how I would be judged if I told someone that I was just feeling lonely, I would have been better out just saying how I felt earlier so that I can get some more peace of mind for myself. So to address this issue, I'm going to give a few tips on how we can cure some of these feelings of loneliness, or to at least repel some of these feelings, because I know it's easier said than done. But with little steps here and there, you can get to a place that you feel more comfortable, or a place that you want to be. So number one is get some professional help. It's important that we most definitely, first and foremost, see a doctor if there's some underlying issues that you might not have been aware of. To go and see a therapist, a professional, or a doctor of some sort, because they can help you sort out those issues that you might not even known about. And I understand that it can be very costly. You do what works for you. Find out what is best for you that you can afford to. I remember for me, when I was going, I didn't go every single week. Sometimes I went every month. Just start where you can and work with that individual so that you can feel where you're getting to a place where you're feeling comfortable about talking about your issues. I promise you, when you find somebody who you can be vulnerable and open with, you will thank yourself later for it. I know back in the day, it was very taboo to go and see someone for help, but thankfully it's starting to become more normalized that we're going to take our mental health as a priority. So just make sure you do what you can so that you can see someone that's going to be there for you to sort out those issues. Number two, check in with those old friends. You may have already established friendships, but you've been honest with yourself. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since anyone in your circle has seen each other. And of course, we have to be careful because of the distancing. It's been a while since people have seen each other. So even if it's a virtual situation, don't be afraid to reach out and give your old people a call. You might be thinking that, oh, it's been so long since we've hung out. Maybe they're not even interested in being friends with me anymore, because over the course of life, things happen. People, they go their separate ways, or they have opportunities like a new job or school that might pull them in a different direction. But that doesn't mean you can't pick up where you guys last left off. Don't let those doubts of feeling like, oh, it's been so long, we possibly can't connect again. Don't let those things stop you from letting the good memories and good company you had from an old friend stop you from reconnecting. You never know, they might be feeling that same way. So try to pick up the phone and give them a call. It's worth a try. And number two is make your presence known. Taking those first steps can be nerve-wracking, from the time when we were babies learning how to walk onto picking up our pencils in school and developing those motor skills, then later on going to learn the skill that works for us. So taking those first steps and making your presence known in your life, as in introducing yourself, being the first to take a leap of faith in making new friends, it's a big step. And for some of us, it can be an intimidating process, especially if you're like me, who is very quiet and an introvert, as you would call it. But showing the world who you are and what you have to offer, that introduces them to yourself. Imagine how much influence you can have on your new friends and associates when they're exposed to your authentic sense of being. So when you're meeting someone new, don't hold those things back from the world. It can very well pique an interest in someone who's into the same things that you are. So try to get out of your comfort zone. And when you're meeting someone safely, of course, because of the distance, do your best to try not to hide those things that make you you. Number 3 is get invested in your new interests. You may feel like you're in the middle of discovering something that you're good at, or you might be reviving an old hobby from back then. But we all have that special thing that we do that makes us feel most alive. And when you invest some time in that concealed hobby, it often leads to you socializing with other people. I was a loner for the most part for a long time, but I always wondered if there was anyone out there that had the same interests that I did. And I was very much into comics and manga and just nerd stuff, that all those things matter to me. So surely there are individuals that like the same things that I'm into. So it wasn't until the time where I got into going to anime conventions and joining forums online and writing fan fictions that I realized, yeah, I can be friends with these people because they get me. And so just like how I found a space where I could connect with people, there is a space for you. They have book clubs, sporting events, dance groups, gaming tournaments, travel packs. There's a community for just about everything. And so you just have to be sure to look at the things that you're interested in, the things that you love to do, and seek those communities that pair up with that. And while certain things might be on hold because of the pandemic, there are still online activities that you can be a part of to still get a sense of community. And last but not least is number 4, be giving of yourself and give back. Wherever we go, there's a need somewhere to be met that produces a compelling mission to take place. There's a great purpose in fighting and serving for the causes that we stand for. Not only that this bridge the gap of finding a solution to the problem in the world, but this opens the doors up for connecting with people who are in that same wavelength as you are. So when it comes to the changes that you want made in the world, people who serve tend to build some of the strongest connections that can later transcend into lifelong friendships. And because we are dealing with the pandemic, it's a great opportunity to go and volunteer to much needed causes. I put this last on the list because some people are not at the stage where they're able to give of themselves at the moment. And honestly, that's okay. Sometimes we have to retreat and take care of ourselves first before we can give back to others. That's with loneliness, that's with depression, that's with anxiety, that's with anything that you're dealing with as far as your mental health. It's okay to take a step back and know how much you can give of yourself before you're ready to make a big step. I also wanted to add that it's okay to remember that you're focusing on the quality and not the quantity. I used to think that the number of friends that you had mattered, and in reality, now I can count how many good friendships I have on my fingers. So I'm blessed to say that, and the number, it shouldn't matter. So don't let that get in your way of judgment of having a lot of friends, or thinking that you're more liked because you have a massive amount of people that happen to know you. So that's it, you guys. And in my book, I go into much more detail as far as things that you can do to implement repelling your feelings of loneliness during this time and in times in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more content soon. See you later, you guys. Bye.